partner in crime, Joe, joining me again.
We got another special guest.
Don't forget, man, I got your 6. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. It is Wednesday, August 31st, but we're going to get right to it because this is a pre-recorded show from August 24th highlighting the East Coast Championships. And so I'm excited. Wanted to at least share something really quickly with you guys, and that is something that's going on with Dan Potter. As Dan, in typical fashion, does, he helps everybody out in the circuit, and so I want to throw this up there. Dan is holding a second raffle. This is for Miami 5-0's player, Caesar, and ultimately he wanted to send that shout out to Ryan Thies and Ruben Munoz for the bat donations. Please visit Dan Potter. These are the 2 bats. You can find Dan on social media. If you look up Dan Potter or Code 3, you'll be able to help out. I think we've got, I don't know, maybe 20 spots left or something like that. And it just would mean a lot because all the donations obviously are going to go towards supporting the family of Caesar Avecchi. So that being said, want to get this show on the road. Here it comes, highlighting the East Coast Championships. So, as we mentioned before, we have got the coach of the New York Hounds and the tournament director for, Jimmy, what do you got? What's your tournament called?
We call it the Big Apple Classic, but we've been fortunate enough that the powers that may be in police softball did decide to dub it East Coast Championship. So,
all right.
That we're recognized for that.
Cool. So we are going to introduce Jimmy here in just a second, but I want to make one comment, Jimmy. I've never seen you without a ball cap, and you actually look like you could be in some sort of an action movie or something like that. I mean, I swear I've never seen you without a ball cap before. And we've talked about it, how when you go to Vegas, sometimes the guys will get dressed up and head out and they don't have their ball cap on. And it sometimes takes a second to kind of like, oh, hey, wait a minute, that's you, because the ball cap makes a difference. Well, that's how we always see each other.
I got to show my hair off because it's all there. It is turning colors, but I mean, at least have the opportunity to let these guys know, there's something under there.
All right. You clean up well, man. So, all right. So we got Jimmy Wolters. He's a retired law enforcement officer, coach of the New York Hounds, 24 years in PS.com circuit. And that's why, as I mentioned before the show, that's why everybody knows you, man. You've been around for a long time, great ball player, but end result is you've been around the circuit for a long time. So that's cool. He's a director of the East Coast Championship, 2016 Chevy Wright Award winner, and the 2018 Manager of the Year. And he is the creator of the 52 Strong Award. So Jimmy, welcome to the show. And thank you so much for making the time to be here, man.
Thank you for having me, Trini. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, hey, let's start with, who is Jimmy Wolters?
Well, from my point of view, or what other people? No, just kidding.
Yeah.
Who am I? Who am I to say? I'm somebody who will love you unconditionally until maybe you do me wrong. You don't want to love me anymore. I was born and raised in Queens, New York. I started in law enforcement in 1998, following my father's footsteps with the New York City Department of Correction. I met my wife before I started the academy, bartending in Queens. Some of you probably know a place called Bayside if you're listening from New York, Bell Boulevard. And, eventually I became the manager of the Hounds, and she's forced to be Mama Hound for my guys. So without her, there is no video happening right now. That's for sure.
Man. No, she's awesome. And just that short amount of time of talking to her, I could tell that she's a driving force, much like my wife, in what allows me to be able to accomplish what I accomplish. So kudos to her. So one more time, her name?
Selena, but everybody calls her Mama Hound.
That's right, Selena, Mama Hound. All right.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, Jimmy, you were in law enforcement, you said, since what year?
1998.
So 98. Recently retired, right? A couple of years ago, something like that?
A couple of years ago. Yeah, 1995.
All right.
2015.
So thing that I didn't know was, although you're the coach of the New York Hounds, you actually live in Florida now.
Yes, I did. I'm here now 1 year. Actually, right after I was done with last year's tournament, I had to pack up the house when we came down here.
All right, man. How do you like Florida?
I am absolutely loving it, and the kids are loving it. There's ball all year round for them. Everybody's adjusting pretty well. There is life
Yeah.
after retirement.
All right. All right, man. So, hey, let's get into what it is that New York, how did the New York Hounds come to be? Tell us about the New York Hounds, the team.
Okay, well, for years I started playing for New York City Department of Correction. During the academy, there were guys that had known my father that he had played with, and they had picked me up right away to come play with them. A very short time after that, I wound up taking a team over my first year on the job. Then I actually played the majority of my police softball with the NYPD Shields. Later on, I moved on and played with the Tri-State Lawmen. And then after that, in between tournaments with them, I had started a Guns and Hoses team called the Hounds with my brother, who's an FDNY fireman. And we started there. And then my team was missing tournaments. Guys were getting older, moving on. And I started playing more and more police tournaments, especially in 2008. And then at that point, I was onto something, got a good crew, always treated my team like a family. And I was fortunate because guys wanted to come play with me. And we just build on it. We build on it. And I'll say first and foremost, I'm fortunate enough to have a team that that knows how to play the game. We've had some success, but more importantly, I'm happy that the way that our team is built is that we're a family. And so we do more weddings and christenings and birthday parties with each other than probably we play tournaments together. I'll tell you the truth.
That's awesome, man.
Yes, it really is.
Huge key to the success of a team that's going to stand the test of time. If you don't do that kind of stuff, man, you're out there just playing ball. It's easy for people to not click with the program. And ultimately, I know I'm not in law enforcement softball anymore, really, for the competition. It's as much as I'm in for the camaraderie. It's just what happens after a long time of being in, these circles. It's like, man, I'm kind of past those years, and the camaraderie. Without the camaraderie, I'm past those days. So it's cool to be able to hear that. It seems like you guys have a bunch of younger guys, but they look younger. But I don't know. Do you have a bunch of younger guys that just look like you and look all young?
There's some good in the water, I guess, in New York. No, in these last couple of years, I did add a couple veterans to help mold the team. Some of the younger guys. We're kind of pretty spread out. The majority, the core of the team, is in their 30s, mid 30s. So we are getting a little bit older. But
it's like I said, they are younger. Shit, 30s, yeah. Man, you're moving at your 30s still.
Yeah, but they all started playing for me in their mid 20s. But you know what? It's I'm fortunate enough that these guys are out there playing ball at a high level in New York, and they're able to see who's the next kid who's coming through the academy that want to play for us. But
it's huge.
But they also have to be Hound material. Just because you're good, that doesn't mean that you fit our mold.
Yeah, 100%.
That we take pride in. That's for sure.
Yeah, man. Gotcha.
And just really want to touch real quick on camaraderie, and especially in these. This year has been unbelievable. I've seen the camaraderie on this circuit go to new levels. Just this past weekend, I was in Baltimore. It was the camaraderie between our team and the other teams we played was phenomenal. Ourselves, Mid-Atlantic, Max Elite, it's just the friendships that we've built with these other teams. At times, maybe when we were the new kid on the block, we might have rubbed a couple guys the wrong way on the field. I get that. But once you got to have a couple minutes and sit with us to get to know us, a beer in a parking lot, you realize, what? These guys really are brothers, and they're all about what the circuit is about. And that's what I try to promote in my team and my tournament and everything like that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely an important thing to touch on, because that's a part of the reason we did the Police Softball Podcast is so that we know each other just outside of the competitive heat of the moment. Because when you're competing, we're all competitors, and we all want to, to win. But unlike and the civilian circuit, in my experience, I want to highlight that in my experience in the civilian circuit, it really is more competition over the camaraderie. And for me, that's what I love about police softball. But things like this help because now I get to know you even on a better level than I knew you before. So that's cool. I wanted to touch on your tournament now. The thing about your tournament, though, and it's like we talked about before, I believe what makes a big decision for a team to attend a tournament is the destination. It's got to have a good destination. I'm not saying it has to, but it really does sway the team to go, oh man, I want to go to New York. I want to go there, And when you have a destination like New York, man, that's a great place to start. So we're going to talk about your tournament, the fields and things of that sort, all the wonderful things you provide for the players and the experience from this year. But tell us a little bit about New York, New Yorkers, things of that sort.
Well, some New Yorkers could be rude. We all know that. But you know what? I will say myself and all the guys that are on the team and everybody else, New York's a special place. And it takes a special person to understand how New York is. I mean, you could look at even New York sports fans, they're die hard. Their heart is in it no matter what they do. That's one thing I have to say. Myself being on the job at 9/11, the whole city came together. I mean, that's in there. That's built in there. Bred in homegrown New Yorkers, I would like to say. That's in you, and it's something that never leaves you.
I get the feel,
migration of even myself coming down here because I think the overall view and value of how the climate has changed has made people striving to want that more. But New York is a very expensive place, so sometimes it's a little bit difficult to get as many teams as we like, which I understand. Which I try to work on with trying to give the players and the teams everything that they could ask for at our events. I mean, it's pretty much how we started the event since day one, because we wanted to have a tournament that when the players of police softball came, that it was a celebration of them first, of our camaraderie. I didn't want them to have to come out of their pocket for anything and have to worry about running out to get food or whatever. It's gotten easier for us. We used to do all the cooking throughout the whole thing ourselves. The Hounds would sit there barbecuing for everybody there.
That's cool.
We're fortunate to have some good sponsors, Budweiser, and we do purchase a lot of stuff. And we want to give everybody a one-stop shop. I mean, I always hear people talk about, you go to Jimmy's tournament in New York, you don't need to worry about anything. Everything's right there for you. Waters, Gatorade, any kind of adult beverage, food, and that's what we want to give back, especially the guys who play on my team. I mean, they do a lot of work throughout the year for our team itself, and that event is honestly, it's selflessness that gets put in there from my own family to every single body on the team, their wives, and everybody put all that effort in there to give to everybody. I will say, and I hear it all the time, and people tell them, once you go to our tournament in New York, you'll be like, oh, I don't want to miss it. And I have friends of mine that are very dear to me, and they know who they are. They come every year, and sometimes they might be on a different team. They come by themselves because they're like, I don't want to miss this. And you got to get a couple pictures with them. I know you saw them, D Ward, JZ, all these guys that were there. I mean, Dan Potter has been a huge plus for us. I mean, he's been coming out for a number of years right now. I think last year was the first one that he missed in the last 4 or 5 years, and he's always the first one to say, you got to experience New York. You got to experience New York. And every year we try to outdo all the years prior, which probably adds to my stress and on the family. But I mean, at the time, it's like, I'll tell you what, running a tournament, sometimes when it's done, you're like, that's it. I'm never doing this again. So the hangover and stress wears off after a couple of days. My wife says it's like childbirth, that women forget about how painful childbirth is, and that's why they wind up getting pregnant again. So I don't know. You'd have to take that up with her, I guess.
Yeah, for me, it's the same thing when I put my tournament on. It's always like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. I get there, and it's when I see all the smiles
all the people
Yes.
having a great time hanging out together, the kids rolling around in an environment that the families feel safe in. And
Yeah.
then, of course, catching up like we're showing now. I mean, catching up with everybody is such a joy. It's such a cool feeling to be able to see everybody, especially D Ward scared the hell out of my wife with that beard of his when we saw him there in New York. But I'll tell you, man, that's what it's about. And then you go through the stress, and I say it every year about coaching and everything else. Like, but once I'm with the guys, and it's all worth it. Hey, Jimmy, one of the things I want to touch on before we get into to more of the tournament is the environment of New York outside of the softball field. So we know it's a great field. We're going to show some pictures here in a minute, but when it comes to, we stayed at the Dominic, which is in Soho, and that's like right there in the heart of things when it comes to New York. But be warned, and we didn't know, because last minute type thing that we were trying to work out some things that were there. It's like an hour or something away. So what area of town is the Fields, so that when people make arrangements, they can kind of get a better idea where they want to stay?
Well, the fields are located in Nassau County, New York, right next to the Nassau Coliseum where the Islanders used to play. It's called Uniondale, the area. It is actually conveniently located not far from the majority of the beaches. There's, I mean, probably at least 10 golf courses in the area.
All right.
The nightlife is second to none, the restaurants in that area. I know that a lot of the women, especially the women who come from DEA, they enjoy the shopping in the area. That's
right.
for sure. There's plenty to do there. And we try to give as much as we can. But I mean, you got to, if you're coming, you got to go experience New York a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean,
so that would be one of those suggestions, is maybe stay for the convenience of playing, for sure, close to where the fields are. But man, even if you give it 1 or 2 days, it's hard to take in even a 1% of New York in a day or two. But it's really cool to go to the city, man. And it was a great time. And we got to go see The Lion King, got to see that Broadway show. We went on a sunset cruise.
One of the best ones.
Yeah, man.
That sunset cruise is amazing that you went on. And I would recommend that to everybody, because you get to see the whole entire city skyline, and with the sunset. It's honestly probably one of the coolest things to do in the city, in my point.
Yeah. And that picture you're seeing, that was from our room at Soho. And so if you get an opportunity and you can stay somewhere there, I like that community too. I thought that was really neat. Spend that day or two, and I mean, it's a great area to visit, and everything is right there. So you've got great food too. So we went to quite a few great restaurants there in the area. So like you said, I didn't get to experience the food or the nightlife in the area of the fields, but I did hear about it. So next year, that's what I intend to do, is to stay there and still visit the city afterwards, though. So great food, great environment. Now we know great nightlife, great restaurants in the area. When we come to your tournament, let's talk about the fields. So the fields were in great condition. I will say this, comparable to the St. Louis Show Me Classic, you guys' fields are just like theirs. I mean, one of those fields is way out there, and it's a lot of ground to cover for your outfield. So you definitely want to bring some extra guys to be able to give those dudes a break out in the outfield. But man, great complex, very clean. Fields are in great condition. I mean, take a look at it, man. I mean, it's definitely an environment that is, I like to compare it to where we had our first tournament here in Bernie, man. A lot of the trees and everything. It's a really neat environment, but these fields are great. So the fields are great. Tell us about your tournament, Jimmy. So we got the fields, and what can these players expect before we get into the highlights of this year's tournament?
You can expect to never be hungry. I can tell you that. We have food for you. We always start the morning with some New York bagels and coffee for everybody. Then we go some subs. We have Fogo de Chao is one of our major sponsors, and they actually come and they've been cooking for us for the last few years.
That's awesome.
This year they cooked 1,200 pounds of meat at the field, and they fed everybody. I mean, guys were talking about how their plates were so heavy when they went back. I mean, the food is top notch. It was no different than when you sit in the restaurant. They were making it fresh right there for everybody. And then Saturday, we give out a couple dirty water dogs, New York style, and we have we usually go through about 100 pizzas delivered for some New York pizza that comes in. So we try to make sure that you guys are definitely full to help absorb the full open bar that goes on for 2 days. That, I mean, guys don't leave the field when the tournament's going on. For them, there's like, they hear with the camaraderie, they have an open bar. They don't have to worry about going somewhere. The hotel is right across the street. I mean, I don't even think it's a quarter mile away, the hotel, so it is the absolute perfect situation if you want to come and be with your team and have a good time and meet everybody else. We've entered in a marquee game every year that I try to get players from every team involved. That's always something that we try to do each year. The last 2 years are very special to me. Last year with the 52 strong game, and this year we honored Donnie Meyer in his 40th year of police softball.
All right, so we're here with Donnie. Y'all know who he is, Meyer. And I'll tell you the thing that I was just talking to Donnie about was how aligned I feel with him because of all that he, not as long as he's been on, because you can be involved in something for a long time, but not really truly leave a mark or have a legacy when it comes to not just the game, but also your commitment to the culture. I think that's very important, and I'm aligned with certain people in that way, and I just feel like Donnie's one of them. So,
absolutely.
I know we're gonna have your marquee game here in just a little bit. We're at the New York tournament. It's the Big Apple, right?
Yes, Big Apple East Coast Championship.
Yeah, so we're here, got to come up here for the first time, check out the fields, awesome environment. Great fields and great weather, but the highlights, Donnie, right now. So Donnie, man, give us a little bit of a history about you starting out in the circuit, maybe some of your most memorable moments, and ultimately what it means to be here tonight and have your ceremony and your marquee game.
Well, I got on a job at 21. I turned 21 in December of 81. January of 82, I got sworn in. August of 82, went to my first police softball tournament in Detroit. When at the time, if you won the tournament, you got a car. The team won a car.
Oh, wow.
We ended up coming in third place. The following year, we came in second. 84, we went, the first time to 84, we won a car. Everybody took turns. It was a Chevy Chevette, little tiny thing. Everybody took turns driving it around the field, and then we sold it back and put the $4,800 at the time back into the kitty for the team, which was, for me, that was awesome. But the friendships you make is just unbelievable. And the guys on my team, I played with New York Metro for 30 years. The North Coast passed away, and I ended up going to North Florida the year after that and playing with them for 10 years. And just new people. But winning games in Dayton, Ohio at 5 o'clock in the morning and because of rain, and going to Joe's Saloon and drinking vodka on tap, which is the worst thing ever happened in my entire life.
I've never even heard of that.
But we won, in the 30 years, we probably won 100 tournaments. And Houston used to have 2 tournaments. They'd have a Friday and half a Saturday, 3 and 1 up, and then the rest of Saturday and Sunday, 6 and 1 up.
Kilty, was it Kilty?
Kilty.
That's because I used to play in Kilty.
And we won that. And one year we went and played 18 games in that weekend. Yeah. I got to the plate 72 times.
Yeah.
And it was just scary.
Yeah.
And going home with blood coming out of your pants and from sliding on the
Well, hey, on that note, can you show us some of your battle scars?
Oh.
Look at this. I just found this out and I didn't know
I got one knee replacement that's 9 years old. Another knee replacement that's there is 8 years old. I have a shoulder replacement that's 7 years old. Did my Achilles a year ago at Waxahachie, so... And everything
4 months later, he's playing ball, by the way.
Everything I've done to get fixed up is because I want to keep playing on this circuit. So
how old are you?
I'm 61.
All right,
I'll be 62 this December.
Good on you, man.
So,
well, I know here we had a opening ceremonies. You give us a little rundown on the opening ceremonies?
Yes. Yeah, they started out with doing what they call the 52 Strong Award, which was after Danny Spinelli, who passed away recently. And it's for an officer that is big in their community, big in police softball, big on their force. And the guy that gave it to Joe from the Hounds is an officer in Jersey, and he goes, if something happens anywhere in the department or an officer gets hurt, he drives stuff to that from Jersey to either Michigan, Ohio, South Carolina, wherever somebody
very cool.
needs something,
Very
he's
cool.
the first one to jump in his van, and off he goes with supplies or
That's cool.
people to talk to, stuff like that. Then they gave a little speech about what they do for the 9/11 victims of the police department victims from 9/11, that lingering effects and cancer and stuff. And they gave an award to Danny Spinelli's wife. And, then they had my little award, and I did the best I could not to cry. I think I did pretty good. I was crying on the way up, but when I gave my little speech about camaraderie and making new friends every time you go to a tournament, talk to somebody new, make a new friend. Everybody's did the same thing you're going through. If you're having problems at work, always talk to somebody. And then they did the new Hall of Fame inductees, which was Brandon West from South Florida, Jimmy Wolters from the Hounds, and Jamie Torres from Suffolk County.
All right.
So it was a really good afternoon.
Yeah.
A lot of hugs, a lot of tears.
Yeah.
And there'll be more before I'm done. And,
Yeah, I'm sure.
I mean,
man.
Vegas will be bad for the last one.
Yeah.
So
I hear you, man.
I'm looking forward to it.
It's hard, man. Somebody just said it earlier. I think Dan said it. Like, I can't believe it. I just can't believe it, you know. And it's crazy to be able to imagine all those years, and it's like, I'm really gonna kind of hang it up, because it's not so much the softball. It's all about the relationship.
Yeah, it's just
that's what you.
coming out here. And
Yeah.
you can sit down in the stands next to somebody you've never met and just start talking, and it's like you've known them forever.
Yeah.
Which is the best thing I find the best thing about coming out here.
Well, you got a marquee game going on, a marquee game in your honor. Tell us about the teams.
So what we did is I picked one team from guys that I've been playing against as long as I could, and guys on my team that is coaching. There's one guy that was still playing with me for Metro, Dickie Malik, plays for Nassau County. There's a couple other guys that aren't really playing a lot anymore, but they play with me on Metro, so they're coming out, they're coaching, they're going to play. I picked 16 guys, Jimmy Wolters, and a couple other guys picked mostly Hall of Famers to play against us.
Yeah.
So my team is wearing number 5, which is what I wore in Metro.
Yeah.
And the other team's wearing 55, is what I wear with Jackson, the
All
North
right.
Florida team.
See, that's cool,
so
man.
it's really good. I got an extra shirt. I got everybody that's playing in the game to sign it. I'm going to frame it up. And I'll probably be crying out there again
hell yeah.
too. So
and nothing wrong with that, man.
Yeah.
Let that shit flow.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
In the end, I'm telling you, I could never imagine not playing police softball. Here recently, though, I've kind of been like, man, I don't know. Got some things going on that it's like, maybe it's time to step away, kind of focus on some other things. But even when I say that, my heart is not buying it. I'm trying to kind of say it in my mind, but my heart's not
I'm
buying
doing it,
so.
and it's gonna be so hard. It's time.
Yeah.
I don't want to. Not that I'm worried. I've never been worried about getting hurt.
Yeah.
Worried about people hitting middle line. That's never. It's just that I get to the point of I make this play, and then it's by me now.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like it's time.
Yeah.
It's time.
Well, I'll tell you one last thing I was going to tell you is that when I saw Rebecca and we were talking, I wanted her to know that this is just as much of a celebration for her.
Oh, absolutely.
Today. Just as much of an award that you're receiving. She's a part of that award, and we all, you know, I think all of us do a great job of being able to recognize family and friends that come out and all. But I think, you know, when you really talk about as much as the experience has been that you've had in all these years. Oh, look. Here she is.
Come all the way down here.
That's what we're talking about. Look at that. That's what it's about right there. Look at that. And I tell you what, I told her, this is just as much of your day and your award, and I want you to thank you because I know what it took to be able to support your husband through all that he's gone through, especially the whole working vacations around softball, having kids around softball, just everything we do to be able to be here like this. To have her by your side like that, man, it's just
Absolutely.
badass thing.
And she's big. She's been keeping a book for whatever team I've been on Metro, and now keeps the book, tells people where this guy hit last time, 2 times ago he hit it here. The whole keeps up to date how many home runs people have. Just knows the game and loves being down here.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Hey, man.
Thanks,
It's
bud.
an honor, man. It's an honor. Congratulations to you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for all that you've done and that you continue to do, because regardless of you leaving the game, I know you might make some special appearances.
Oh, yeah.
I hope you do.
I will.
But in the end, look how many people you positively affected. And I didn't know you before coming here in 2013, but it's a pleasure, and I wish I would have. Okay?
Love it.
All right, brother.
I decided to create the 52 Strong Award last year. I wanted to honor Dan Spinner, as most of you will know, Dan Spinelli, who was actually the founder of New York Blues, co-founder with Rick Torelli years back. He also played with Metro, NYPD, Nasty Boys, I believe it was. He was around everywhere. He played with the Hounds early on in some tournaments. And that's probably when our relationship really took off, because to play against Dan on the field, probably one of the most fierce competitors. I mean, you hated the guy as a player. He was just brash and come at you. I mean, he's one of the first guys I've ever seen to throw a pitch and sprint after it in at the batter. You're like, what the hell is this guy doing? I mean, he didn't care. And he wouldn't care what you're down. There's never give up attitude. I was fortunate enough to have him be one of my good friends for well over a decade. And even, I know him for 24 years. We actually became close. And that's, I say close friends. We've always been friends, but close friends. He came to our team in, I believe it was 15, and helped me, gave me validity to what I was trying to do with my team. He always told the guys that this is something different than us. He played. He believed in what I wanted to do with the combo of the family and the competitive drive. And guys went all in with me, and they bought in, and I owe a lot of that to him. So I felt the need that I wanted to honor him, because Dan struggled for the last few years because of all his 9/11 related illness. He worked on the pile for a good amount of time there, and everything that Dan was going through was because of 9/11 and his sacrifice for us and our community. So what I had decided to do is come up with an award for somebody who is so involved in police softball in a career, but yet does so much for the community. Because what more could a human do? He gave up his own body. And ultimately, we don't have Dan here anymore because of that situation. I told Dan what I had planned on doing. We gave him an award last year, and the first recipient was Dan Potter.
That's so cool.
Yes. So from that point on, the award winner for the next year would be decided from Dan Potter and Dan Spinelli. I have nothing to do with it other than making sure everything,
That's cool.
be able to hand it out. I don't want any involvement into it. There's no swaying.
Yeah.
One of the last things that Dan Spinelli was able to do is, get on board and get on page with Potter. And, they picked this year's award winner, Joe Markulik, who is also my assistant coach, my right-hand
cool.
man.
Yeah.
Can't tell you how easy he's made some of the things in my managing life, and just to have my back. It's just really nice, to have him there. If you guys don't know him, I mean, many of us do here. He does so much in the community. I mean, if you just go look on Facebook, I mean, Dan Potter called me right away. It was like, this has got to be like a no-brainer. I was like, well, I don't really have a say in it. So, you have to talk, to Dan about it. Going forward now, unfortunately, Dan passed away in July. So going forward, it will be, Potter, Spinelli's wife, Doreen, will have a say in it, and now Joe, and that's how we're going to keep it going, And
that's cool.
And I hope that if it ever comes where I don't do the tournament anymore, I'm still going to keep that award going. If I have to hand it off at your event, or everybody who will let me, just to have it.
Yeah. No, that's cool. It's very special, very unique. I had not ever heard of that way of going about giving an award out to the winners who have won it. I think that's very special. On top of that, to your point about somebody who puts so much into their service to our community, because first and foremost, that's what we do, man. And wherever your corrections, police officer, probation officer, doesn't matter. In the end, you've agreed to be able to help us keep the peace in our community. And that doesn't have to be necessarily by making arrests. It can be being a detention, officer. and it can also, in all those different facets. That's what I love about our circuit and being around like-minded people. So it's a great honor, I'm sure. And what a wonderful thing to be able to have Dan have a say in that particular award. It'll always be special moving forward, but it is really special to have the two recipients have that with input from Dan. I mean, that's just,
Yes.
that's got to be a highlight, of
Oh,
all the
yeah.
years that award will be given. It's something special about having Dan actually have input in it. So that's awesome, man. Congratulations to them.
Yes, thank you.
So what took place in the opening ceremony?
The opening ceremony, what we like to do is honor some of our sponsors to help make the event happen. We try to keep it short and sweet. We're fortunate that the NYPD does send out their color guard and someone to sing the national anthem for us. We were, there's a picture up there. The piper was actually my neighbor next door in New York that I've known since he was a young lad of 5 years old and wound up becoming a piper in high school. And he's come out for us and played the pipes for the last couple of years. And we've been fortunate about that. I mean, once again, like I said, it's all hands on deck at my event.
Yeah.
And that's where we give out the awards, and we, try to keep it short and sweet, because I know guys like, we got to go for the ceremony. It's hot out here. I want to go do that. And, I appreciate, all the teams lining out on the field and giving people their little bit of time, because they do make the event happen. And I think it is okay to pay it forward to give them their attaboy, that they need at that time. Fortunately enough, this year, once again, this is the second year running, they've been announcing the East Coast Hall of Famers. So that's pretty cool. And it's an honor that they chose our venue to do that. It's actually pretty cool. And it's cool for the guys that are there that are going in to be part of that.
Yeah, very cool. And then you had a special guest that helped you to announce those things.
Yeah. Straight from the West Coast, California. Jeff Blair was out there. I mean, that was nice. I mean, it was really nice for him to get out there, and he was taking his pictures, and I'm sure a lot of you guys saw it. It was posted. He got a lot of good pictures of seeing what was going on there. I mean, it's nice to have JB there. It does, bring validity to your event. And, hey, he saw it now firsthand, so I'm sure he'll be on the West Coast being like, you got to go check out the Hounds event that they have out there, Yeah. I mean, too, you were there. I got a surprise visit. You guys knocked my socks off. It was really nice that you guys came there.
I kind of figured it'd make you happy. We tried to get our team together, man. I have a hard time getting my family together, let alone get a team to go to New York. But I can tell you this.
Joe, we're going to try to spread it out so we can start doing each other's events a little bit, hopefully. So
yeah, and that's one of the things we did here. But it's always so difficult, man. You're trying to not bump into other people's tournaments. You're trying to find a good time of the year. What works for your sponsors? I mean, there's so many things that come into play to put a quality tournament on. Takes a lot of coordinating. So, it's definitely was top notch. I can say that, my personal experience, here's what I'll say is I felt a lot of camaraderie there. And I think the venue, the organization of sponsors to come out, the hotel being across the street, because I didn't even know that till just now. And of course, the destination spot that's not too far away, it all just makes for a great tournament. I've always heard about it. I have not been fortunate enough to make it up there. All great intentions. I talk about it all the time, wanting to be judged on your intentions and not your actions, because you try so hard to have, you have good intentions, things fall through. But I'm so happy I went this year. And the cool thing now is I can turn around firsthand, not through hearsay, and say, yeah, man, we got to make this tournament. We got to go up there. You guys are going to enjoy it. I said it last year, but I'm going to emphasize it this year. Save your damn money. Get your time saved up. It's going to be worth it. And with any luck, we do it far out enough in advance that we can, get some good rates on flights and things of that sort, and just make it easier on us. But you wait till anywhere close to 3-4 months out, especially New York, it's going to be a tough one to try to muster up at the last second. But I know firsthand it's definitely worth it, and has my stamp of approval when it comes to a tournament that truly does offer a complete package there, where you really don't have to leave the fields when you show up from the very beginning to the very end, you really don't have to leave that general area. You don't even have to leave the fields, like you said. That was my observation, along with the camaraderie. It definitely was there. You felt it. DJ was rocking too. We didn't mention the DJ, so that was cool. A lively environment, and you definitely were right. Fogo de Chao was out of there, but the drinks are still flowing. And hey, for those, especially for those teams that don't have a good tournament, that's a good way to just kind of, you want to hang out at the fields anyway, because you're hoping that you had some kind of surprise third like silver bracket or consolation bracket. It's not going to happen, so you might as well just drink and have fun and enjoy each other's company while you're there.
Yeah, we actually have been fortunate to have we do always have a major and a gold, and we do have a Guns and Hoses bracket, whatever, for a couple of teams that have been in it every single year for the last 12 years. So there is something for everybody there, which is good.
All right.
And like you said, you really don't have to leave the field. I mean, everything's right there. I mean, not to mention the ball is top notch on those fields. You have, the top East Coast teams there year after year, the Max, TBL, Terry has been making his way the last few years. I mean, it's, I have my Florida teams, North Florida and South Florida, these guys, it's, it's special. Maryland and Jonathan Robinson from there, he's big with doing the tournament shirts and helping out the marquee game shirts every year and stuff. I mean, everybody gives me such a hand there that it's overwhelming sometimes. When it's going on, I don't get that chance to be like, thank you right at that moment. But when it's over, you know what I mean? They know how appreciative I is. It gets hectic, when you're running an event, especially that one of that magnitude that I have going on. Because it's not just the ball, the umpires assigned, are the brackets good? There's also, what do you mean the keg's not working? We're running out of ice?
Oh, yeah. I know.
Through 40 gallons of vodka?
Yeah.
Oh man, you gotta send somebody to the store to go buy another 20 gallons, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it is there for everybody.
Well, I want to round this show up with being able to talk about what were the final results of the play. Who took what?
I took a hangover when it was done. I could say that. Max Elite won for the second year in a row. They have really dominated the tournament come bracket down the stretch the last 2 years. Lockdown came down with a very strong team, Mid-Atlantic guys mixed in with a couple Great Lake guys, and they had Justin Witt out there, my buddy who's out there pitching for them. I mean, he said it himself once he got out to our tournament, he's like, I ain't missing this.
Yeah.
Again, you know what I mean? We had great showings. I mean, you had a great gold bracket, South Florida, Midwest. The lower bracket, we had Miami Metro. Larry's team comes up there. I mean, and they all between those lines, they play so hard. And you know what I mean? It's the ball could bounce in any direction out here on the East Coast. A lot of teams are so evenly matched in the gold and in major and stuff like that. And I think that's also added to some of the camaraderie because, hey, we're battling each other a lot. And sometimes I got to deal with you guys again. So at any point out here on our side of the country, I mean, anybody can win,
Yeah.
It's just great to have everybody there. Kudos. It was great having Metro Detroit Finest out there for the first time. I think they had a blast. They performed well. And at the end of the day, the ball's good. That part of it. I just want to make sure that if everything else was good when they left, because that's what the main thing is it's a party for those players on our circuit. That's what we first try to do. We mix in some stuff for the charity. We try to do a pretty good job with the raffles, as much as possible. I do have to say, I'm going to try to get away from some of the other tournaments to draw some more teams in there. We usually hold it at about 16, but I would like to grab a couple, and if we can move it apart, then we can. We've been fortunate enough to have West Coast teams come to our event a few times. SenCal, DEA has come on numerous occasions. Arizona teams come. With one of my favorite teams that I haven't seen them in a while, the San Francisco Seals. Those guys got their money's worth and probably 4 or 5 other teams' money's worth at the bar.
Yeah.
They give the Hounds a run for their money.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, ball, camaraderie, and giving back to the players. That's what that event is about.
Yeah, man. Yep. So we got so all that being said, we had the top 2 teams in the gold. I'm sorry, in the major, right? And then do you have a lower division, correct?
Well, there was the gold division. Yep.
So who took that one? What was that? What was first and second?
Metro won. They beat South Florida, and then in the lower bracket, the Baby Birds, the Guns and Hoses team, they took that bracket over Long Island Hit and Run.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, so it was pretty good. We've been actually waiting for our story to get up on. We're waiting for the webmaster to fix some stuff on PS.com so we can get that up there.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, hey, man, I'm excited again to be able to let people know about the tournament. Again, I didn't know myself. I heard, but I got to lay eyes on it. I everything we just said is true. I was there. I witnessed it. So I'm excited to be able to get my team fired up about going there. And like I said, man, I'm great showing. Congratulations to you and your family, your friends, and everybody else that put in the effort, to include sponsors, and the wonderful feeling of having the support of not just you and your team and what you're trying to do with the tournament, but just even officers that are visiting from teams. When you see Fogo de Chao, when you see these the Dan come in, I mean, all this support that you see when you're there, it's just great to see the community come together and believe in who we are and what we do. And they show that through their support, through sponsorships. Like I said, even Dan, we forget sometimes he's not corrections or police or something like that, but he is like one of us. And when he comes out, that's still community support. So, I think it's a great thing. And, man, congratulations again. I'm happy to be able to highlight the tournament. Thank you for making the time to join us, man. And we'll catch up with you later.
Thanks for having me, Trini. I appreciate it.
No problem, man.
Don't have Deanna with me tonight, or my partner in crime, Joe. But hey, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Definitely, congratulations. When we're talking about the success of this East Coast Championships, I know Donnie. What a great honor to be able to have that game. In your honor, and like I was talking about before, when we talk about visiting everybody. We're talking about the camaraderie. We're talking about seeing all the friendships that are made. I mean, this is a great tournament to be able to go out there and do that. There's tons of activities that take place right there in the park. A wonderful venue, and like I said, man, you can tell by the video, it's a great tournament. Very well put together. I want to say congratulations to Jimmy. On a successful tournament. To everybody, the Hounds, the family, like we talked about before. It was just very special to be there. I talked about wanting to get the team back there. I do also miss my partner in crime, Joe. Thanks for joining me, Joe, at the last second. But this was a pre-recorded show. I want to invite you guys, if you want to highlight your tournament, if you want to be able to highlight your team at these tournaments and what you have to offer, man, do what we did. Take some videos, take some pictures, let me know. We're going to do this now as a new segment to be able to highlight individually these tournaments and what they have to offer. I think it'll be a great little library to, when these coaches and players are considering traveling. This is a great thing to be able to look up and to be able to reference. A lot more in videos and pictures that can be said, with me just sitting here talking about it and recapping it. So again, thank you guys for joining. I appreciate it. And don't forget, man, this is Trini and I got your 6.